98.5 The Bull, country's greatest hits. Hey, I'm Mazingo, and right now I have got a real treat for you. On the line, country music superstar John Rich. John, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Sitting here in Tennessee, looking at some fall weather coming on us finally, and man, been looking forward to speaking with you as well.
Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you for calling in. This is actually not the first time that you and I have spoken. And I know you probably talked to a lot of people, so I don't expect you to remember me. That's fine. But it was a few months back. God, actually, I guess it's been probably about a year at this point. You called into another show that I'm on, talking about the Big and Rich concert at Fantasy Springs Resort Casino out here. It was about last October.
Right.
And
right.
You came out. You guys did the concert. You did a bottle signing over at Bevmo here in La Quinta. Everybody out here is super excited, and it was an amazing show. It was like the biggest party I think I've ever been to. Is that what you and Big plan on doing when you guys do these shows? Is that your goal, is just to throw a big party?
Man, we call it having a big and rich time, and I think that's something now people are very well aware of what having a big and rich time means. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that like anybody else this whole year. We can't wait for things to turn back on and be able to bring that show back to everybody, man. It's been what a crazy year, and we miss the fans, and we hear that they miss us too. So we cannot wait to jump back on that stage.
Yeah, I bet they certainly do. I know, having you guys back on the stage here in the Coachella Valley would get people super excited. And, one thing I noticed about the show as well that I thought was really cool, and I don't know if you guys do this every night or not, but that you stop during the show and you do a tribute to vets, and you toasted a vet that was there in the audience. And honest to God, I shed one during that tribute. It was such a cool thing for you guys to do. Is that an important thing for you guys to do, to make sure you stop and thank those that have served the country?
Well, we feel like if it wasn't for veterans and if it wasn't for active duty, we wouldn't have a country in the first place. Since the inception of America, there have been all types of empires and tyrannical powers in the world that wanted to take America down and wanted to take away our freedom because, freedom is a threat to people that don't have it. That's why our country is so successful, and we have the greatest entrepreneurs and everything else because we have freedom. We have the right to pursue happiness. And like I said, without vets, without our active duty, that would cease to exist. So every show when we get up to play, we're so thankful for that audience being there and the fact that we get to do what we love to do, chase our American dream, which is, being musicians on stage, being big and rich. That yes, every single show now for I think it's over 1,000 concerts.
Wow.
We do a toast to our vets, and we sing the 8th of November, and God bless America, and we make sure they know how much we appreciate them.
That's so awesome. I thought that was a fantastic part of the show. Like I said, I got choked up. It was such a moving moment. And speaking of the shows that, like you had mentioned, we don't necessarily get to have right now. Everybody's kind of hunkered down in their homes and just trying to stay sane through this all. How have you and the family been dealing with the pandemic?
Well, I have gotten a lot more acquainted with my chainsaw, my weed eater, my tractor, post hole diggers, hammers. I think probably a lot of people are laughing right now going, yeah, me too. But, my family's good. I got 2 sons who are 9 and 10. Baseball is still being played. I guess they consider that a somewhat distanced sport. And so been hitting a lot of baseballs and writing a few songs and, praying like everybody else that this thing gets under control. We get to go back to being good old America like we were before it hit us.
Yeah, no, I know we're all definitely looking forward to that. Speaking of the virus, I know the president has been in the news quite a bit recently because he himself contracted COVID-19. And you were on with the president on Celebrity Apprentice, and you guys have become friendly. And the last time you were on with me, you did a fine President Trump impression, I've got to say. But before I ask you to do that again, have you spoken to the president recently? That's not a question you get to ask many people. But have you spoken to the president recently?
No, I haven't spoken to him recently. I have not. I've been watching everything like everybody else. I'll tell you, if I did speak to him, I would say, what were you doing during that debate? Seriously, because that was one of the worst things I've ever seen by anybody. Both sides of that situation were just. I don't think anybody was impressed with any of that. I'm hoping that going forward, people got to vote, so they need to know clearly the differences between people and not just, people yelling at each other. So I think actually our country has a lot of unity when it comes to we want to see our country back on track. You know, we want to go back to work. We want to and do it the right way. But you know, there's so many people. Listen, I grew up in a trailer in Texas. I'm a high school graduate, and I didn't have any extra stuff growing up. And working hard is the reason why I got to do what I want to do, because I had to pound my way through it, you know, and that's how America is. So when you stop them from working for such a long time, it has drastic negative effects on people on many, many different levels, as we all know. So I'm hoping that after this election, some good things happen and we can turn our country back on. At least that's my perspective. You know, our fans, people that come to Big and Rich shows, that's your work hard, play hard crowd. I mean, that's blue collar America. They want to go back to work. So I'm hoping, man, what do we got, less than a month before the election? No matter who gets elected, I hope a lot of things straighten out.
Yeah, that's for sure. I know here in Southern California, in Riverside County where we are, we just moved into the governor's red tier. So we've got some small openings. Restaurants are able to have people indoors and stuff. So I know that really makes folks happy, just getting a little bit of that normalcy back in our life. But, you know, 2020 has been kind of a strange year. And just based on what I've seen at the Big and Rich shows, I know you guys are definitely rock and roll fans as well. And yesterday, we lost a rock and roll legend in Eddie Van Halen. And I feel like anyone who's ever picked up the guitar has tried to play like Eddie Van Halen. I know I certainly have, unsuccessfully. Was Eddie Van Halen an inspiration for you? How did that hit you yesterday?
I was shocked by seeing that. You know, he wasn't old. I don't consider 65 to be old.
No,
you know,
no.
he always looked like, I mean, he had so much energy on stage. I saw several Van Halen concerts, you know, high school, you know, when I was early on in my career. Van Halen comes to town, you're going to go see Van Halen. And, you know, Eddie Van Halen as a guitar player, you could ask yourself, well, who was a better guitar player, Eddie Van Halen or Chet Atkins, right? And the answer would be both of them, because for what Eddie Van Halen did, he was the absolute best at what he did, just like Chet Atkins was the best at what he did.
Yeah.
In their own lanes, nobody was better than Eddie Van Halen. Those sonics, those licks will live on forever. That's one of the great things about being a musician, is if you create great music that people really love, it outlives you. You know, every time you hear a Van Halen song, you hear a solo, you know, you're hearing something left over from that guy's life that's a permanent thing. So that's a strong way to live your life, and it is a big loss for the music world.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, I've seen a lot of tributes online in the last couple of days, and just watching him play, it was so effortless. You know, he just glided on that fretboard. It was just amazing to watch, and he had such a unique sound. You know, almost like his own voice was in the guitar. You know, it's just so unique when you compare it to other guitar players. So definitely a huge loss for the music world and the world around us. In losing Eddie Van Halen yesterday. But, you know, back to some happier topics. I know you've got a show on Fox Nation right now, which is Fox's streaming service called The Pursuit. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier when you asked about, you know, Big and Rich, you know, honoring vets and active duty. The show is based on the simple fact that America doesn't guarantee us happiness. It guarantees us the right to pursue happiness. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't guarantee us you're going to get what you want or what you think you should have, or that you're going to live out your dream. But you woke up in this country today and you have the right to go for it. You think about all the billions, literally billions of human beings that woke up today that don't have the right to pursue happiness. That they have just as much talent and drive and intellect as any American ever had, and some of them even more. But because of where they live, they're not allowed to go for it. They're not allowed to exhaust their potential. So in my show, I bring in all kinds of people, regardless of their politics. Matter of fact, the more varied, the better as far as I'm concerned. I take that cross-section of America, and I interview these people about their pursuit of happiness. And, you know, where did they start? How did they get to where they're at today? Where are they going? And it's really an inspiring show. I mean, one of the greatest interviews, I guess probably the greatest one I've ever done, was I got to interview Charlie Daniels 3 weeks before he passed away.
Wow.
Nobody knew that was coming. He wasn't ill. You know, he died of a stroke. But it was the final on-camera interview of Charlie Daniels. And to be able to ask him about his life story in the frame of the pursuit of happiness for Charlie Daniels, it was quite an interview. So it's a show I'm really proud of. And lots of people hit me up about that show and say that they gain a lot of inspiration from watching it.
Well, I'm glad you're getting good reviews on it. I'm glad you're successful. I mean, you've kind of branched out. I mean, you've got you've got a Lone Star and Big and Rich and your solo stuff, and you got the Fox show, and you've got the whiskey, which that night that you were here at Fantasy Springs, I may have overindulged in possibly. It's the headache the next day. It happens sometimes. So how is the whiskey business since I brought it up?
Man, it's great. Redneck Riviera Whiskeys in, I believe, 48 states now. RedneckRiviera.com has all the stores listed by zip code, so it's really easy to find it. 10% of every bottle goes to the Folds of Honor, which puts kids through college who lost a parent in combat. And my little old whiskey brand now has funded over 100 college grants in the past 2 years.
That's fantastic.
So it's doing very well, and it's all right in your area. So if you're looking for something for the weekend, go grab you a couple bottles.
A couple bottles? That sounds like quite the weekend.
A couple. For your friends, you and your buddies.
Exactly. You got to share, right? You can't be stingy. So speaking of the pursuit of happiness, I'm sure songwriting brings a ton of fulfillment and happiness to your life. The new single, Earth to God, it seems like a very timely song, and I imagine the inspiration behind it is, the current state of the world and the struggles that we're all facing. But tell me, in your own words, what inspired you specifically to write this tune?
Well, any of us that are paying attention, which I think is pretty much everybody at this point, we obviously know the threats that we have from COVID to unrest in our country, but then you pile on the divisiveness in our country and how people are so broken up amongst all kinds of thoughts and ideas. And the whole world really has a problem right now on many levels. And I was thinking about that, like, what do we still have in common anymore? Is there anything? And I went, actually, ironically, the thing we have in common is that we're all in this same chaotic mess together, and we all want to see it end. But man cannot fix mankind's problems, apparently. Biden can't fix them. Trump can't fix them. Nobody can fix them. It's bigger than us. And I believe in God, and I've listened to him, and I try to follow what he says with my life. And nobody's perfect, but I do make big efforts to try to listen and follow what he says. And the thought came in my head, it's like humanity needs to send an SOS to God and say, Earth to God. Come in, God, almost like you're hailing him.
Yeah.
You're sending a ping from the earth to God, and you want him to respond and to make himself known in this situation. And so that's simply what the song says. I put it out like a little over a week ago just because I wanted people to hear that message, and it actually debuted at #1 on the sales chart across all genres.
Really?
Like I looked up after 24 hours, and Earth to God's #1, and Justin Bieber is #2.
When you can say that you've outdone the Biebs.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And I went online. If you go on YouTube and look up Earth to God, which people should go watch this video, you'll see the comments. And it's just unbelievable how that song is impacting people. So, thank you for playing it. It's a strong message, and I think something people need to hear.
Yeah, that's awesome that it's resonating with people in such a way. And I think, like you said, with all of the turmoil in the country and the struggles that we're going through, I think people are probably looking, for a little inspiration, looking for something that'll, maybe help them get through the day. Because we all have, a ton of different struggles, whether it be, you're out of work or the kids are at home and not in school, and you're playing triple duty as a parent and a worker and a teacher now.
Right.
So a song like this, like I said, very timely, and we're going to play it here in just a second. And I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. I love talking with you. Last time that I got to interview, I think I bragged to all my friends. I was like, oh my God, it was such a good interview. It was so fun chatting with you. But, I've got to circle back around to what I said in the beginning. Let's set up a premise. Say Donald Trump was a radio DJ and he was about to play your record. How would he introduce it?
Oh, wow. Okay, put me on the spot. This is my good friend John Rich. He's fantastic. Absolutely fabulous. This is his new single, Earth to God. Fantastic.
Awesome. John Rich,
good
thank
people.
You so much.
Good people. That's my favorite when he says is good people. Good people.
Yeah,
John Rich, good people.
Of all the impressions I can do, I have not been able to formulate a Donald Trump impression, and yours is spot on. I love it.
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and everybody out there listening, you guys stay tough. hang in there, and remember, even though we're all separated, man, I feel like our minds are in the same spot. We just want to see our country get back on its feet and let's go back to work. And that's what I'm praying for.
We're praying for it, too, here at 98.5 The Bull. So like you mentioned right now, Earth to God, we're going to play the new song from John Rich, and I'll post the video over the website as well, 985thebull.com. John, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great day. Thanks.